Arab and Muslim voters in the critical swing state of Michigan are now actively organizing against Joe Biden due to his unwavering support of Israel and its war on Gaza. Now, some Michigan Arabs and Muslims have launched an Abandon Biden campaign, part of a broader national movement still getting off the ground to ensure that those in their community show up to cast their vote, but not for Biden. So this is a little different from previous coverage we've done in regard to, the Arab American and Muslim American community in Michigan, because it was more, fragmented, disconnected. You didn't really have a movement that was organizing around this cause. But now there is a movement organizing around this cause, and they're trying to really figure out what their strategy is gonna be, right? Because at first you heard from Arab Americans who said, we're maybe not even gonna show up to vote for president in the general election. Others considered a third party. In this case, it appears that they want to show up and vote for someone. They don't want to vote for Trump. They don't want to vote for Biden. So I guess they might write someone in or vote for a third party candidate. But the point in showing up to vote is to make it clear that they do not want to vote for Biden. Simply not showing up would not make that message as clear as they would want. So after a Friday prayer at the Islamic Center of Detroit last week, Abandon Biden co-chairs Khalid Tourani and Samra Lachman made an announcement about their effort, urging congregates to show up and vote in a way that ensures Biden does not retain the presidency. Tourani told those gathered they had no right to complain if they did not make their voices heard. And listen, guys, I totally understand. For those of you who are concerned about another Trump term, I can understand why you would see this organizing and think that it's a really bad idea, because Trump could very well be worse than Biden on this matter. And I think that there is cause for concern. I think there is reason to believe that. But and I understand this deeply, I really do. For Arab American voters, for Muslim American voters, seeing what's happening in Gaza and seeing Biden's unwavering support toward Israel as it does what it's doing in Gaza, like raising the Gaza Strip, displacing the majority of the population, the high civilian death toll, where 2/3 of the individuals killed happen to be women and children. When they see that happening, what they're experiencing emotionally, mentally, goes far beyond thinking about politics strategically. It is a moral concern that runs so deep, and you have to understand that, because it says something about who Biden is. If he could stand back, watch what's happening, and really have no genuine concerns about it. And I say no genuine concerns about it because it's one thing to provide some empty talk about how you're concerned about the number of children dying or the high civilian death toll. It's something entirely different to actually put action behind those words and apply pressure to Israel, carrots and sticks, right? If you don't rein this in, if you don't engage in targeted strikes, well, we're gonna rein in our military funding and the weapon we provide. See, that would actually message that Biden is genuinely concerned about how Israel is carrying out this war. Simply saying he's concerned, but then he continues to literally go past Congress in order to provide that military funding, it just seems hollow. You get what I'm saying?
We might have millions of people watching this show, but you can be the difference maker, because we just need 1% of our audience to be paid members, and then this show can be around forever. So you can make that difference. Click join now.
So Shireen Al-Adimi, who's a Lansing resident and an assistant professor at Michigan State University, spoke to the Washington Post about this and said the following: for decades, we've squandered the power that we have here because Democrats were stringing us along saying, vote for me, we're not the other guy. This is such a dangerous time that we're finally willing to use that card, and Biden thinks we're bluffing. She really wants to emphasize, we're not bluffing. We have deep concerns about Biden, and we really want to make that known. We want to know that there is a political price to pay if you are unwilling to hold Israel accountable for war crimes that they're committing in the Gaza Strip. Polls also reflect the bigger picture for Biden in the state of Michigan. For instance, Zogby conducted a poll back in October that showed that support for Biden among Arab Americans had plummeted to 17%, down from 59% in 2020. Zogby's poll also found that 2/3 of Arab Americans have a negative view of Biden's response to the violence in Israel and Gaza. And if you take a broader look at how Democratic voters are feeling, 2/3 of Democratic voters want a ceasefire. I'm just not delusional enough to think that 2/3 of Democratic voters would end up not voting or voting against Biden when push comes to shove. But there is some percentage of Democratic voters who see what's happening in Gaza and feel that the moral qualms they have with it surpass any type of strategic thinking about how Biden would be better than Trump. You get what I'm saying? Like it goes beyond just trying to pick the lesser of two evils, because to them, the issue of innocent people getting slaughtered is the most important issue. And to them, watching Biden support what's happening by sending the bombs, sending the money, is just a bridge too far to end up voting for the current president to serve another term. Now, the campaign's organizers, the Abandon Biden campaign, who also oppose Donald Trump, have not yet coalesced around a strategy for the general election. They're still debating whether to encourage voters to support a third party or to skip the presidential contest altogether while still voting for other offices. And either way, the organizers, according to the Washington Post, are telling Muslims and Arab voters that they should show up and vote rather than stay at home. So it is abundantly clear that they're voting against Biden, that they're making their voice as loud as possible to show how their support changed for Biden as a result of this war. The Washington Post also reports that many voters who have not yet heard of the formal Abandon Biden campaign also plan to deny Biden their vote, and they are just as furious as those organizing about Biden's support for Israel. Now, Biden does plan to visit Michigan. I don't know if it's still going to happen, but his plan was to visit Michigan today. And as I shared with you earlier this week, members of the Muslim and Arab community in Michigan had refused to take up a meeting with the campaign manager for the Biden campaign. They said that they have nothing to say to the Biden campaign. Some were willing to meet with Biden, but for the most part, they rejected the meeting. And it was, yes, to send a signal to Biden about where their hearts and minds are at. But they feel that even taking up that meeting, trying to make their case about how Biden's unwavering support is wrong, is really not gonna have much of an impact. Because as you guys have seen already, I mean, Biden has been willing to support anything and everything the far right government of Israel is willing to do, regardless of how much it jeopardizes the stability of that region. I mean, we've already seen how this war is expanding in the Middle East. And he's been willing to support Israel even if it hurts him politically, which is amazing. It really is incredible to see it. So I can understand why Arab American and Muslim American leaders in Michigan have refused to take up that meeting with Biden's campaign manager. And we'll see if Biden meets with them today and what the outcome of that meeting will be. But it's not looking good for Biden. He really can't afford to lose a swing state like Michigan. And right now, according to the polls, he is losing Michigan to Donald Trump, and he's losing by a lot. Things can change between now and then, but I really haven't seen much from Biden in terms of changing course policy.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.